Have you been paying attention? I bet you a lot of you haven't. I know that I did. And so when this last week of changes, rather abrupt changes to the way we've done things, I wasn't surprised. And I've been keeping an eye on the news, not to the point of letting it cause me fear, though. I'm past that point. I actually believe the man when he said he was going to do everything he said he was going to do. If you weren't paying attention, then that's on you. If you weren't looking at the news, if you stayed in a naive state, which so many of you have since I've talked to several of you now, and I find that there's a very naivete about a lot of things that are happening. Things are changing, and they are doing so rapidly and abruptly. A lot of you haven't been paying attention. A lot of you didn't educate yourself about all of this. And so as the changes continue to come down the pike, some of you are going to be rather surprised, rather fearful, and then for those of you who did not vote, for those of you who voted for the current administration and then start complaining, for those of you who didn't vote and start complaining, you actually have no rights to do so. You are to blame. Yep, you are to blame. It is your actions, it is lack of action that has caused a lot of this to happen. And it's not just this administration. It has been past administrations. I was talking to somebody the other day about privacy rights and the whole TikTok thing. If you don't think the United States and all of its tech companies are gathering the same type of information that other countries who have similar software do, you're naive. You haven't been paying attention. And I sat down recently with a team, and they dictated a wonderful message, navigating through your changing world. They are not pulling any punches. And how do you? Well, start paying attention if you haven't. Educate yourself. And stop being naive about what's coming down the pike. They had a whole book about what they were going to do, and they are starting to do that. And if you actually say to yourself, well, we thought he was lying, we don't know what he says is a lie or a misspeak or the truth, educate yourself. Educate yourself. I'm sorry what is going to happen to a lot of people. I truly, truly am. And I hope those individuals find their own sense of protection, set up protection, get your proper papers, your ID, make sure that you're screening people in your own fashion so that things are going to change. But we did this to ourselves. I am firmly convinced of that. And you can give me all the arguments you want. But 50% of this country, and please don't tell me it's 49.8. I don't want to hear that argument. 50% of this country, give or take a few points, voted in, as well as the Electoral College, voted in the current administration. Were you paying attention? A lot of you were not. To some of us, it was very much of a surprise because we weren't paying attention. We weren't taking in the historical factors. We have a tendency to look through rose-colored glasses. Well, the glasses are off, folks, and it's now time to get real. Do what you can to keep the peace within yourself. The team will be there for you. Ask them to help you. Don't ask them things like, well, we need to get the current guy out of the office, so do something violent to that. No, violence is not the way. What you need to do is look at yourself, your self-awareness, how you're showing up in the world, what your belief systems are, and what your type of action you're taking. Are you meditating to gain inner peace and contentment? Are you working on your own self-awareness and your self-growth and your own personal development? This is a great time to start doing all of that. Are you meditating? Are you taking time in the morning to relax? Or are you reaching for your smartphone and start doom scrolling? Are you turning on the news and sitting there in fear about everything that's going on? Half the news, I can tell you for a fact, because I was in the news game at one time. I actually worked at the CBS affiliate back in Orlando, Florida, back in the day. So I got a good taste. I have a degree in film and television production. So trust me when I say the news hasn't been the same since Walter Cronkite and David Brinkley and Chet Huntley left the airwaves. My father knew all of those people. My mother and father were involved with the CBS and NBC back in the day. They looked at the news differently. But I also have to tell you that I found later, because I was naive, that my father was involved. I don't think unwittingly, because I think he was promoting and filming, because he was also a producer, director, writer. I grew up knowing about propaganda. All of those World War II films that used to play in theater with happiness, those were propaganda. They were full of lies and skewed news. So yeah, it's been going on since television began. Now we just have to put in social media and all the platforms. And a lot of those people just put on whatever they want to put on. So you have got to be smarter and wiser about the intake of information that you're getting. And don't be an ostrich, because many of you go from one point to another point. And that isn't the game that you need to play here. You need to be informed, but not to the point where you are losing your mind, that you're addicted to the news, you're addicted to your social media. Pull back. Train yourself past the addiction. They want you to be addicted. So don't let them create an addict in you. I know it's hard. It's hard for me. And yet the team, bless their hearts, will always sit down and say, you've had enough of this now. Turn the set off. And I do. I also have loved ones who surround me that say to me, okay, enough is enough. And so I've learned, and you can learn too. You can filter the news to a point where you're getting both sides. You have to do some due diligence. A lot of people will go, no, I don't want, I can't do that. I'm losing my mind. Then pull back. But don't be surprised when all these things come down the pike, because they told you what was coming down the pike. I don't understand why you didn't believe the situation. I know I didn't either for a while. But now that it's here, water under the bridge. We've got to deal with today and how you're showing up today. Let's stop being naive. Let's start being more self-aware. Let's practice spirituality to the point where we can be content and have belief systems that feed us, not take away from us. That's how we're going to navigate this changing world. My name is Blake Cahoon. I have a company, The Angelic Path. We have a bunch of stuff on there that might help you. They have other videos here that talk about all of this. And I'm going to keep talking about this as long as they let us. Value our freedoms while we still have them. It was Benjamin Franklin that said something to the effect of, democracy is great if you can hold on to it. Many blessings.